Welcome everybody for yet another exciting, I think, roundtable for an innovation topic in smart asset management, smart maintenance. In this case, asset portfolio management. Doesn't immediately sound like, ooh, where are the bits and bytes here? Where are the robots or other fancy stuff that we normally associate with innovation? And yet there's a lot of innovation behind the scenes. And I think our experts of today will help us understand it a lot better. So welcome everybody. And if that's okay, Tom, then I will start with you. Can you give us some idea, of course, of yourself and your wonderful organization, but also of some best and worst practice?
Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Tom Dieleman. I'm working for the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management. My function there is a senior specialist asset management. A typical thing for portfolio management within our organization is the renewal and renovation of assets. There's a separate program for that. They're reviewing the end of life, technical, functional, and economical end of life. So that's a typical thing. Thanks.
Okay, but this is nice, but I want more. What's especially going well there, or what's especially not going well there?
Well, it's going well because we have a long-term view of what comes next, and which assets are critical and near end of life. What's going, the inspections leading to that conclusion, they are quite difficult. And the decision, if you have to replace or renew, they're still quite difficult decisions to make. So we can really make an effort in that to improve it.
Yeah, so you can do the inspection, but then actually seeing that something needs to happen, or what needs to happen, or when it needs to happen, is difficult from that. And then deciding what you're going to do is also there. We need innovation.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks. Well, we'll return to that, I suppose. Joris Grimbergen.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Joris Grimbergen. I'm one of the principal consultants, asset management, for Stork Asset Management Technology. I give advice on asset management strategy development and asset management implementation. So asset portfolio management is one of the topics where I'm involved. We do that for the industry, the oil and the gas industry, the chemical industry, the power, the harbor, the ports of Holland. If I think about a best practice, then I would say that portfolio management should be a part of asset management strategy development. I think it's a very important tool to decide whether you should invest CapEx investments, asset investments or modifications, and or whether to focus on OpEx issues. So for decision making, I think it's a very important tool. That would mean that if I would like to talk about a best practice, then I would say make it part of asset management strategy development, and make sure that if you need selection criteria to select what CapEx or what OpEx idea, what proposal, what project proposal would be give a lot of value, then you should develop a selection criteria, a value framework derived from your corporate and your asset management goals. That would be my message to the group.
So yours, this sounds like a very sensible thing to do. Do you have an example of where that actually went in this way as you describe, or where they not at all applied this? Because that's what I'm looking for. Examples of, yeah.
Well,
you can keep the company anonymous if that's confidential, but just to give us an idea.
Yeah, I will not give company name, but I do see that there are big parties, for instance, in waste waste facilities, that they use portfolio management to decide what kind of energy transition program, what kind of energy transition investments, CAPEX and or OPEX, would give the best result, would give the best value for money. So they do develop ideas with respect to how can I reduce my energy for carbon oxide reduction. And then they use the tool to decide which projects are giving the best and most economically the best result.
And that's then the whole process of coming from what do I need to achieve as an organization into and these are the things I'm going to do in the coming years.
Correct, and then you talk about complex situations, big money,
long time horizons and certain futures and all that. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Thanks, Ivar. Ivar Nadert.
Thanks, Henk. My name is Ivar Nadert. I'm a manager CapEx optimization and delivery for Tata Steel in Europe. So I'm looking at this subject from a CapEx viewpoint. And the words of Joris very much resonate with us at the moment. Since the last time we spoke in, I think 2018 or so, we also recognized that having a asset strategy would actually be a good instrument to select and prioritize CapEx schemes that we need to execute. So what we are doing at the moment, we are developing what we call master plans or asset master plans, which typically describe the future, the far future end state of a site, like a site in IJmuiden as an example. The future asset that we have projected is capable of delivering the products that we want to make for our customers, of course, but also takes into account the changes that we need to make in terms of decarbonization, as an example. And that actually, and we have the contours of that. Of course, those things need refinement year on year, or maybe every 2 years or so. But the first results of having that contours already helps us in a great deal to apply the decision-making metrics, also mentioned by Joris, to have a more precise selection of the investments that we want to make. So I would really subscribe to Joris's recommendation there. It's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. We read the news. Tata Steel and decarbonization, that's a significant challenge. So I can certainly understand that needs quite some planning in ahead if you want to do it in the right and smart way. Thanks. Yeah, that's also, I think, a very good example of why asset portfolio management needs to be way up there in terms of innovation priorities. Agreed. Yeah, Paul Peters.
Yeah, well, thanks. I'm Paul Peters, Strategic Asset Management Consultant for WBL. We are the wastewater company in Limburg, in the southern province of the Netherlands. And we transport and collect wastewater for approximately 500,000 number of households, and approximately purify 150 million cubic meters of water yearly. Well, I fully agree to Joris and Ivar. We had difficulties in the past connecting the strategical goals of our company to tactical level of asset management. And we developed in the last year a portfolio board and forms in which project proposals are they have to define in which way they contribute to our strategic goals. And of course, that's a difficult. It's almost difficult to make something. Why do we call it? Objective, non-discriminatory or discriminatory. So that's a struggle that's still going on, but we keep enhancing our forms. But and then we get a ranking of projects in which way they contribute to our strategic goals. And of course, that's a starting point. It's not that we blindly follow that list and that's it, and that project is going first, and then it's number 2 and 3 and so on. But then it's a starting point for the portfolio board in which asset owner and asset manager are involved to discuss which projects are going to be first of course, time and money is limited as always. So yeah, you have to make choices, and it's quite helping us.
Yeah. So Paul, we'll return to this probably later on. But I was just thinking, as I listened to you, you know that these recordings are also used for our students, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I also try to listen a bit, from their perspective. And then I hear you and Joris and Ivor saying, in the past, the strategy wasn't connected to how we actually make decisions. And I can hear them almost think, why not? Why? What's new about that? Or another way, so why are you doing this now? Why haven't you been, isn't that there for 20 years already? Or perhaps, if it's been going fine so far, why not leave that out altogether and just see how things are going? What's so special about now for you guys?
I think there is a bigger focus on what do we as company want to achieve. And we have to be able to tell our board members how do we make progress. So that's one big reason, and also a mind shift that assets were always looked at as a cost center, especially in our business. We have to clean water, but our contribution to the environment is absolutely is enormous, I think. So there is a mindset going on from being cost center to producing value, and that's that's also one reason for really making that connection.
Well, that's a deep point. We'll probably return to that as well then. Paul, yet another asset owner in this meeting, because of course we have a pure asset. No, that's not of course. It's obvious, I suppose, that asset portfolio management is a core task of asset owners and their consultants, of course. Paul, what's your story? Well, please first introduce yourself a little bit, but also your best or worst practice in the field of asset portfolio management.
My name is Paul van der Voort. I'm a program manager in the innovation department of ProRail. And my main focus is digital innovations for ProRail. So my core business is not asset portfolio management, but I do have ideas about it. When I look at ProRail, I think we have the management of our current asset portfolio, the current types of assets that we manage, and it's in control, I believe. But at the same time, I see several challenges. One challenge is managing the assets that fit in the current system of the railways. It's quite well, but sometimes you have a large system change coming up. And for example, right now in the Netherlands, we are moving towards another type of traffic management and signaling, train safety systems. That's called ERTMS. And it says impact of all different kind of assets, and not only the assets that ProRail is managing, like the signals and the tracks itself, but also, for example, the trains that are owned by us other asset managers. So these are quite challenging changes or transformations, and we're doing that in like these big projects with a lot of money, and that takes, of course, a lot of time. So that's one challenge. And another challenge that I see is the digitalization of asset management. And we have, of course, our system managers for the different type of the assets. For example, a system manager for bridges or for the tracks or for the switches. And in this era of digitization, I would expect that they would also feel like owner of measuring systems in these assets, or measuring system in other assets that are linked to their asset performance. And also, not only, so you talk about sensors, for example, including sensors in bridges. So thinking about when you build a new bridge, do you include in these bridge all types of sensors that monitor the bridge in the next 100 years or so, or sensors in other types of assets, but also the algorithms, like the intelligence around all this information. So I would suggest that asset ownership also includes this digitization, and this means that we have to transform the people, like the people that are like the system managers, that are mostly focused on their own technique part, but they have to acquire new types of capabilities.
Yeah, yeah. Great.
I think that's
the bar so much, Paul. That's because so far the description that the previous experts gave was more or less like, you know, in the matrix, these are individual jobs, big jobs, of course, but you go throw them in one bucket or the other bucket. You say, no, ERTMS is system-wide, so we have to do something on everything rather than do this part of this GPS coordinate and then this. And also, so far in making these assessments, sounded like these are experts, they know what they're doing. But now you say, oh, there's an expert opinion, but there's also actual data, and then lots of data coming from that asset that I need to combine with that expert opinion. So that makes it a lot more complex, which of course I love as an engineer, as an academic, but it doesn't make it much easier.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah. Any immediate response from any of the panel members here who wants to say something in response to the others?
Yeah, well, if I may say something, if I'm hearing the story of Paul, then I would imagine that he's talking about sensors for asset performance, the measuring and the intelligence behind it, the analytics software and the modeling software. I think that's more part of what we call asset performance management, the 4.0 developments that are being done now, and portfolio management for me is more on another level, on a management level, where you have to decide what kind of things you have to do for the coming 2, 3, 4 years, more on a strategy level. So I think you should be careful using portfolio management for intelligence issues like Paul is mentioning.
Oh yeah. What's your idea about that, Paul? Are we mixing up two fundamentally different things, or is there an overflow from the one in the other, or?
Which Paul?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Paul van der Voort, of course, because you were talking.
Okay.
But indeed, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Well, okay. I'm not sure what the boundaries are of portfolio management. As I said, I'm not a specialist in portfolio management, but you could question, if you look at the asset portfolio, should it not include the monitoring of the assets and also the intelligence about the assets? Why should you only look at the asset itself? If it's not included in the asset portfolio, there might some opportunities might be missed. So, do you think, Joris, that the intelligence, you say, oh, I only want to look at the bridge itself. I don't, in my portfolio, don't want to think about the measuring systems or the intelligence about it.
I think what I meant to say is I think there are other tools, software tools, other techniques available for doing performance analytics and for and modeling analytics. So and I don't think that portfolio tools can be used. There are suppliers of software for supporting portfolio management. And I don't think that this software is capable of supporting into the direction you're naming.
Yeah.
Okay, but then you're talking about asset portfolio management tools. But
yeah, if you do asset portfolio management and when it will be very complicated to make the right decisions, then our advice would be use software tools to support you in this decision making, and this software is another type of software than what's being used for performance monitoring and performance improvement of assets.
So I think these two topics today, at least, are clearly different topics and supported by different tools. If that's the desired end state, that remains to be seen, of course. Let me just check and go to Tom, because Tom, Rijkswaterstaat has over 1,000 bridge in its management. Now, all those thousands, you have to, if you do that on the expert opinion to assess their state and how long they last, then of course you can look at paper, you can see, hey, this was built so long ago, etc. This is the last report. But if you actually have to visit them, I wouldn't be surprised. It's not every bridge would visit every year. Let's put it that way. So would it help you in your job if you got monitoring data from all those 1,000 bridges that tell you a little bit about where things are really in the red? And so from an analytics dashboards, indeed, not from the asset portfolio side, but from the asset performance side, would it help you, or would it just make everybody crazy?
No, it would definitely help. Yeah, we have over 6,000 point-based infrastructure, so like bridges and etc. So we can't inspect them every year. It would be a waste of money anyway. So you have to apply life cycle management in that way, and to effectively plan your inspection. Of course, especially in the highway infrastructure, the loads are getting bigger. So it would be very, very useful if we can monitor the loads on the bridges, etc. Because that affects the rapid degradation of the objects. Yeah. Okay. Definitely.
Yeah.
Also within Rijkswaterstaat, the information is getting better. So we're applying more and more model-based asset management, and so the traditional way was to look at the condition, to look at the object, and then apply your maintenance. But now we're more about risk-based management and maintenance, and we're looking more ahead. We have a lot of old bridges and highways, which make it imperative that we get in control of this portfolio management.
Yeah. A question for Paul Peters this time, which builds on this. Paul, I visited WBL at some stage, and I remember visiting one of the control rooms that you have, where you actually can see for all the water you monitor, how fast the water is flowing, how high, etc. There's operational data. Mm-hmm. You don't have that kind of dashboard, I think, for the quality of the assets through which the water flows, do you?
Not yet, but we're working on it very hard.
Really?
Yeah.
And would that help?
I'm sorry?
Would that help for asset portfolio management?
Yeah, absolutely, because it enables you to be earlier in getting warnings for something that's going in a critical phase or of maintenance, or maybe critical lifetime phase. So it would definitely help, and that's why we've created a new, we called it the next step in our organization, data-driven. So we are also in that process. We're building a dashboard that's monitoring our asset health status.
Yeah. Okay, good. Ivor, at Tata, you guys are swimming in data, of course. That there are that have also visited your facility several times, and some of the installations are not so new, sure, but all of them generate lots of data. It will be incredibly dangerous if they didn't, about temperatures and pressures, etc. So to what extent is asset portfolio management in your organization a function of experts who know assets, rather than experts who look at data about the condition of assets?
I think we're slowly but certainly transitioning from expertise to data-driven environment. And the reason for that, there are many reasons for that. One is, of course, that expertise is diminishing slowly, and not only from our company, but also from the manufacturers that help us to install and deliver the equipment and so on. So that's one reason. The other reason, I think, is that the world is changing faster and faster. We've heard it a couple of times already in this session, and data helps you to understand the timing of executing certain investment decisions. As an example, if we can, we know that much of our components have campaign life cycles. 15 years for a blast furnace, as an example, before it's due to reline. If you have data that helps you to extend that 15 years to 16, 17, 18 years, and we have that data, and we're currently doing that with one of our blast furnaces, we make sure that the value that we have invested in that particular asset 15, 16, 18 years ago is delivering the maximum value for the company, maximum benefit.
And if that's 2 years more, that's 1/7 of the value. I mean, that's
exactly.
Serious money and also serious planet savings.
And then you're now talking in a spiral, because if you don't have to invest, if you can invest 2 years later in that replacement, you have a pile of money. Well, let's not exaggerate. You have a little bit of money to do other nice things with. Invest in new technology, invest in new kit for new products for our customers, and or invest in carbon reduction and deliver value for the society.
A small question, but we're digressing. But still, it's too. So then you have capex money, because but the OPEX people may say, by the way, it's nice that we keep this thing that's already up for renovation 2 years more open, but now I have extra work.
Yeah. So you're then in a total cost of ownership type of calculation, of course.
Yeah.
And we do those calculations. We have those metrics.
So that works at Tata.
It works with the remark that the difficulty, of course, is about the accuracy of your data, the accuracy of your assumptions, as always.
Yeah.
Right? So mean time between failure, things like that. The better you can predict that, the better it works. And that is maybe an area, I think, also where we could. What I would hope to see an innovation in terms of predictability. If we can connect more and more systems with failure data, that helps us to predict our own failure mechanisms and the time to failure. That would really be helpful. But fundamentally, coming also back to the question, Henk, that you asked on behalf of your students, why is this relevant now and not 2 decades ago? That is because that faster change in the environment and the need to be more accurate in the timing of your decisions. That's how I see it.
Yeah, indeed. This is a time of transitions in many ways.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps this is a good time to look at, after this, all these very insightful and smart comments from the experts today in 2021. Let's look at what the experts in 2017 said.